Welcome back to the Secret Passage podcast. Welcome to our 2026 summer season. I am your host, Dana Vespoli, and with me is,
Gen X Jackie.
yes, a new face. Shannon had to stop doing the podcast because her practice got way too busy, and it was just conflicting. But the good news is our friend of the show, Gen X Jackie, is also a therapist and a true crime and pop culture enthusiast. So this is exciting. And yeah, we hope that you guys are having a very good summer. We are back to discuss not just one, but a couple of disturbing cases. I apologize for those of you that have video. My dogs are putting on a show back there. It's awkward. It's awkward. Hey, Bruno, why don't you? Why don't
I
you
hope
give?
everybody's having as good of a summer as they are.
Yeah, they're having they're summer lovers. Apparently, they are summer lovers. But we are discussing the case of Skylar Neese, the murder of Skylar Neese. We will also be discussing the murder of Cassie Jo Stoddart and the kind of controversy around the sentencing of the offenders who were all underage. There's definitely some conflicting thoughts, and we are interested to discuss these things. So, without further ado, I'm going to get us started with the case of Skylar Neese. So, it's an exceptionally hot and humid evening. The air feels like a blanket wrapped around the girl's body as she climbs out her bedroom window, careful not to wake her parents, sleeping soundly in the next room. The girl's excited to sneak out after being stuck at home the day before, after her two best friends had left her out of their plans. Sometimes the girl feels like the third wheel. It wasn't always like this. Once upon a time, they were called the Three Musketeers. Once upon a time, they were inseparable. You never saw one without the other two close by. Lately, things have changed, and the girl didn't understand why. She feels like she was good to her friends. She's loyal. She would do anything for them. Well, it's a good sign that they want to meet up with her and get high, just like old times. Maybe everything is going to be like it was before. The girl sits in the back seat as she and her friends drive to their favorite chill spot 30 miles away. As they approach their destination, the girl breathes in deeply, smelling the sweet, earthy fragrance of the surrounding forest. It is just like old times. The Three Musketeers. The girl follows her friends into the woods, where they settle in and get ready to smoke. No one has a lighter. They forgot it in the car. The girl stands up, adjusting her yellow tie-dyed shirt stuck to her waist with sweat. She offers to go get the lighter from the car. Her friends thank her, and the girl smiles. She turns and walks away. This is when her friends jump on her and stab her. The girl cries out with a question. Why? This is the last thing she says before she dies. The girl is 16-year-old Skylar Neese. This happened the murder itself happened in Pennsylvania, just over the border from West Virginia. And the girl, Skylar Neese, was from Star City, West Virginia, 16 years old, an honor student, the only child of Dave and Mary, and was the best friend of two 16-year-old girls, Sheila Eddy and Rachel
Shoaf.
Shoaf. I almost said Stoaf. Shoaf. Yes. This is such a I've seen it sort of. I understand that it's to grab headlines and stuff like the Mean Girl murders, but
Mhm.
the thing is, when you think of mean girls, you think they've always been mean girls, and they weren't always mean girls. They they were all 3 very, very tight, and they seemed well, Skylar seemed to love them very much, and I know that Sheila Eddy had been her best friend since they were 8 years old,
Mhm.
but, this was a this is one of the worst betrayals I've
Mhm.
seen in terms of a true crime, of a murder. But let's go ahead and get into the quick details.
Mhm.
So this happened in 2012, and as I said before, all 3 girls were 16. Skylar and Rachel and Sheila were all best friends, but things had begun to sour, the months leading up to the murder, where Skylar was being excluded, and, she would find out that her friends had gone to the mall without her and then claimed that they couldn't get a hold of her, but, she had her phone with her. She knows that it's a lie. And she documents these feelings on her social media. You can see, it's heartbreaking, actually. I went through and I looked at her Twitter, and I was just reading through her tweets, and I just wanted to hug her, like,
Mhm.
you can just see that, first of all, she's really funny and really you're just really cute, and she would just say the funniest things, about, like, not being able to sleep, or, what's this she hears about everyone in her AP class getting a head start. She thought she was gonna be the one getting the biggest head start, but she was starting next month, or, like, these kind of funny things, and then you would just see this brokenhearted tweet where she's saying, "I don't understand what I did wrong." Like, these types of things. Um, so she had been being kind of phased out. Now, Skylar was a straight A student, um, a good kid, had a part-time job. By all accounts from friends interviewed, was she was the girl that you'd cheat off of in class if you wanted to sit next to her because she's gonna be writing the correct answers down. Um, and was fiercely loyal and had been best friends with Sheila Eddy since they were 8, and then Rachel was, like, a newer friend. She started in high school. She had gone to a Christian school up until high school and then transferred over to University High School in Morgantown, West Virginia. And then all 3 of them became tight, and then Sheila and Rachel were far more experienced. They were, sexually active with boys, they liked to party. Skylar was, experimenting with, like, marijuana and things like that, but Skylar had, like, I don't even think she'd ever kissed a boy at the point that she was killed. She didn't have any experience with boys. Liked boys, like, was thinking about it, but just hadn't gotten there yet, and her friends had. And so they, for some reason, I mean, there's theories. We know that we found out later that Sheila and Rachel were sexually active with each other. And Skylar was aware of this and had even recorded them getting it on, with, like, her iPhone because they asked her to, and so she was like, okay, and recorded it. Um, and based on some of the letters that came out, between Sheila and Rachel, it was clear that I think it was an ongoing kind of thing. They both had boyfriends as well, but I don't think the boyfriends were aware. No one was aware except for Skylar. So, could it be that they just, with their being a little more, experienced with regard to boys, and then also having this, uh, sexual kind of relationship, that they just wanted to phase Skylar out because she didn't fit in. Who knows?
Mm.
But Skylar was very subtweeting. as they call it, was sort of
Mhm.
like there was the message was loud and clear, and even the friends kind of that followed all of them on social media had a sense that things were not going so well between the Skylar and Sheila and Rachel. It should be noted that Rachel came from a very strict family, very strict Catholic family, and she would get punished like it seemed a little excessive. Like if she, I think one example given was something to do with like putting something in the dirty laundry that wasn't dirty, like something really just seemingly trivial as that would get her phone taken away for a period of time, like a week or something. But she had very, very strict parents, and of course was rebelling. Didn't like how strict they were, and so this is her little acts of defiance, going out, sneaking out, smoking pot, drinking, certainly having a sexual relationship with another young lady. Um, Sheila, Sheila had a well, her father passed away from a traumatic
Mhm.
brain injury, and
Mhm.
so that was that had to have been tough on her. Um, I don't know. I didn't find much about her background, too much in detail about her background. But she was very controlling. She was kind of the control center of that trio. Whatever Sheila would, says goes type of thing.
Mhm.
And so, leading up to the murder, Skylar's social media was getting more and more frustrated. You could sense her frustration. And the 4th or 5th of July, sorry, the dogs. Um, the 4th or 5th of July, Skylar had tweeted out something to the effect of, "The things that I know could blow everything up,"
Mhm.
which you could interpret as a threat.
Mhm.
Here she is. She's been excluded. She knows they're talking shit about her behind her back. She's finding out about this from friends. She doesn't understand why this is happening. She's frustrated. And so she says, "Fuck you guys. I know shit about you. You could get in a lot of trouble." They have boyfriends that presumably they're cheating on with each other. Certainly the parents, certainly the school. It's just private, and she could let it all out. Um, she also said something like a hashtag, like if only I could or something, which seems to suggest like she doesn't want to. She knows that she can't, but she knows things, you know. And curious if that played into this plan to kill her. Now, Sheila and Rachel had been talking about it for a bit. At first, it wasn't serious. At first, they just found her to be a nuisance, didn't really want to deal with her anymore. And then, and this is speculative on my part, getting angry because she's tweeting these things out. And then finally, they decide that this is something that they are going to do in earnest. They're going to do this. And so they plan it out. They call her up and invite her out. They have cleaning stuff, shovels, knives, towels in the trunk of Sheila's car. And so they invite Skylar out. Skylar, whom they had left out of their 4th of July plans. And so poor Skylar was stuck at home, feeling again like no one, angry, frustrated, and confused because they're not being clear with her. They never tell her, "Hey, Skylar, we don't want to be friends with you anymore." They just they just pull this shit. And so they call her up, and she comes home from her job at Wendy's. She goes into the front door, she sees her mom and dad, she gives them a hug and a kiss, says, "I need to take a shower, I smell like french fries, I'm tired." And so she goes and, goes into her room, and that's the last her parents ever see of her alive. And so Skylar sneaks out the window, she gets into the car, they drive to Wayne Township, Pennsylvania, deep into the woods, a spot that they had gone to get high before. And as I had said earlier, they stabbed her to death. They she was heading towards the car to get a lighter. They pulled this stunt. "Hell, shoot, we forgot a lighter." She turns to go. They jump on her, they stab her. She manages to get away. At first, she doesn't get very far. They pounce on her, they're stabbing her. Sheila finishes her off. And they try to bury her, but the dirt is too hard. So they kind of just leave her there, I guess, and do it the best they can with the earth around, just covering her up with dirt and leaves. And then they leave. In the morning, her door is locked. Her parents don't really think anything of it until it's like getting later. And Dave, her dad, is, the usual thing is that Skylar will drive him to work, drop him off, and then take the car and go to work. They
Go to
do like
school?
a yeah, yes. Or no,
Oh,
it was summer, so her job.
work, okay.
Um, so she's not there, and her bed has not been slept in. The window is ever so slightly ajar. They don't understand, and they're worried. But, they call her best friend, Sheila. Sheila says, "Oh, I haven't seen her." Rachel hasn't seen her. They think, well, maybe she'll, she would never miss work, and she's gotta be heading to work at 4. Oh, I see. So she'd drop her dad off, and then she'd have the car for her shift later in the afternoon. Uh, she doesn't show up. Now they're panicked. They call the police, and finally, Rachel and Sheila say, "Oh, we didn't wanna say, but she did sneak out, and we went and drove around and stuff, but then we dropped her off, but she wanted to be dropped off, like, away from home so it wouldn't wake you guys up. But with the last time we saw her, we dropped her off. She just, we didn't want her to get in trouble. We didn't wanna get in trouble, but yeah, that's what happened." So, the detectives are looking into it, and some things aren't adding up. And the cell phone data shows that the girls had all did that they had driven to, Wayne Township, and then that the phone was in Blacksville, like, right around, like, 4 a.m., like that it never happened. And so then the story turned into, well, okay, we got into an argument in Blacksville. We were there to party, didn't wanna say anything, because of the Conaway brothers who had bad reputations. These 2 brothers that, I think Sheila had sex with one of them. But they'd all, like, get high, and the Conaway brothers were pretty bad news. They were bad news. They were criminals, and they were, like, into, like, heavier drugs and stuff. But the story then became that Skylar wanted to stick around there, and so Sheila and Rachel just left without her, but she had run off and they couldn't find her and all that. And at first, it worked as far as the Conaways became suspects, but everything kind of fell apart. Now, keep in mind, this was July, so all of this is stretching. We're getting closer to January. Skylar is missing. They don't understand. They wonder if, that the Conaway brothers killed her, that, she OD'd and they hid her, or like some people hid her. The police eventually thought that Sheila and Rachel were definitely lying, but they were not responsible for her murder, but maybe they knew something and they were worried about getting hurt by the Conaway brothers or some other kind of bad news people. Eventually, the Conaway brothers are cleared, and detectives are getting more and more suspicious of the two girls, and they finally have Sheila do a polygraph. She fails it. But again, did she fail it because she's responsible, or that she is just not telling the truth because of some other thing? Again, unimaginable that these two 16-year-old girls would murder anyone, let alone their best friend. Kids at school are starting to get weird with them. They're like, dude, you know something. So there's some people that are like trying to be supportive, like, hey, don't pick on them. They're her best friends. This is terrible for them. And other kids that are like, dude, what the fuck is going on? You know something. You need to say something. What the fuck are you hiding? So then it's Rachel's turn. Rachel has been like fallen apart. Rachel's having like mental breakdowns over this. She had gone to, right after the murder, she had been like gone off to Catholic Bible study camp, and was sort of away from everything, was questioned a little bit on the phone while she was away. Again, she and Sheila's stories were disturbingly similar in a way that it's not, it just doesn't make sense. When Sheila goes for the polygraph, she panics, jumps out of the car, like on the way to the polygraph, and then finally she caves. Once you like all the detectives at this point, they know that the two girls were in a lesbian relationship. Not that it doesn't matter, but that's like, huh, motive. The thing about Skylar saying the shit I know, like it's starting to paint a picture.
Mhm.
And Sheila takes a plea deal, and she fesses the fuck up, and
Is it Sheila or Rachel?
oh, Rachel, I'm sorry,
Yeah, okay, I'm
Rachel.
sorry. No, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, Rachel, yeah.
Rachel is the more is the I refer to her as like Rachel with a conscience. Like she's
Yeah,
the only one that
yes.
really, she has a weird relationship with God, by the way. She was like, God, thank you for protecting me during this whole Skylar thing. I'm like, she's like, God,
God should have stopped the murder.
well, we have free will. And
Yes, that's
Sheila
true.
learned very quickly that this was not. It's just weird, like that
Mm.
it's like thou shalt not kill, but it's like, thanks God for helping me get away with this. Like anyway, it was just weird. Her
Yeah.
like her like prayer letters to God were just very peculiar. Um, but uh, but Sheila then is you know questioned. Sheila has zero remorse. Sheila still, as I understand it, has zero remorse. Rachel pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, and she's sentenced to 30 years with parole eligibility after 10. She has been denied parole a few times now. Sheila Eddy pleaded guilty to first-degree murder, sentenced to life with quote-unquote mercy, meaning parole eligibility after 15 years. And yeah, so in
Why did
January,
she why did Sheila get less?
because she took a deal. She
Oh,
confessed,
okay,
and
got it, okay.
she sold Sheila out. Um,
You mean, oh, okay, Rachel got the 15. I'm
yes,
sorry. Okay, got
Rachel got second degree. She was able to plead to
okay.
second degree
Second. Okay.
with the plea deal. Um, so yeah, in January, Rachel confessed, and she led investigators to Skylar's remains. Keep in mind it's humid. She's gone through a couple seasons, so
Mm.
her skull was found like separate from the rest of her body. So animal predation, and then just the climate and seasons and all that. So then in May, so that was January 2013. May 2013, Rachel formally pled guilty to second degree murder. And then in September 2013, Sheila was indicted for kidnapping and murder. And then January 2014, right before there was supposed to be a trial, Sheila finally pled guilty to first degree murder. And and then shortly thereafter, both girls were sentenced and they're incarcerated in West Virginia. So, yeah,
Are they in the
um,
same prison?
they are.
Mhm.
But yeah, so because Rachel cooperated and confessed early, she was able to get lesser charges, and like shorter minimums. Um, yeah. So uh, the I guess my question is, what are your thoughts on what are your thoughts looking at this case, as someone with your background in therapy, when you look at the relationship of the three girls and then just this bizarre crime, this bizarre murder?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely an example of that lack of brain development, the prefrontal cortex development, and that they're not seeing long-term consequences. They're looking for immediate satisfaction, and the satisfaction being eliminate the problem or potential problem. So,
Right.
but I have to question, y- I know you're going to talk about Cassie later, but
Yeah.
what's interesting about this case is this may not have happened um, to anyone else. So it was sort of a horrible uh, the fact that all three of them knew each other. Like I don't know if Skylar wasn't in the picture, that these two girls would have committed another murder.
Right.
Now, I'm not excusing their behavior at all in any capacity.
No.
What they did is absolutely horrific, but and I think we talked about this before too. This idea that like, unlike the Cassie Joe situation, which I firmly believe that they would have committed murder whether it was her or somebody else. In
100%.
this case, I don't necessarily think that's the case. Um, but regardless, they committed murder and they should be punished.
Yes.
We might have
What
different opinions on that too.
Oh, no, no, no. I
Yeah.
think I honestly, I think that they absolutely, I think that the sentencing was fair.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and, um, I'm satisfied with the fact that there's the opportunity to review how they are doing, how they have changed with parole hearings as, like, just checking in.
Mm-hmm.
They may never get out, but at least there's a consideration. There's the opportunity for change, and in their prison, and I know it's different state to state,
Mm.
um, but they have access to things like finishing education. They have access to, I think that in their particular prison, there's even like organizations for like religious organizations. There's like theater arts, things like that they have access to with enrichment activities that I think
Are
I
they
think they should.
participating in that we know of?
That's a good question. I am sure that Rachel's probably in some
with the
Catholic
church.
church
Yeah.
or not, if it was a thing where she was being forced by her parents. I'm not clear.
Uh,
Rachel, I have a little more slack for Rachel
mm,
only because she was having, like, the full-on, like, mental breakdown
mhm,
with after that. Like, that to me signifies some remorse, some recognition that she did something awful.
mhm,
Um, and even in her parole hearing, she states in her parole hearing that the motive, because Sheila's motive, the motive that Sheila gave for killing Skylar was they just didn't like her anymore, which I think is where they got, like, the mean girl
that's
murders,
a
that
very, very 16-year-old response.
yeah, that's very, like, "You can't sit with us" type, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
Um, has still, as I understand it, has still not shown any sort of remorse, but Rachel, the reason that Rachel gave, and it might have been more Rachel's reason, the impetus for Rachel to take part in this was, this fear of being outed for having
Mhm.
this lesbian relationship, which I'm sure that Rachel's parents would I mean, if she's getting her phone taken away because she's, like, washing something that's already been cleaned, imagine what they would do if they found out that she was
Yeah.
having a lesbian relationship and getting high and
I
sneaking
know, I was
out,
gonna say getting high,
all of
having
that,
sex with boys.
which
Yeah.
again which again, you don't fucking kill somebody over something like
Oh,
that, you know?
right.
But for Rachel, 16-year-old Rachel, who at that age, everything is your peer group, everything is your school, everything, like,
Mhm.
your whole world is so small and, like,
Mhm.
compact.
Mhm.
And Twitter and Facebook are just a way to generate sensitive information out to everyone in an instant versus word of
Mhm.
mouth.
Yes.
It's terrifying. And so in her explanation, that was the motive for her, at least.
Do you think this
Um,
what crime would have happened in the '80s? If they were transported to the '80s, do you think this would have happened if there wasn't those tweets and the potential threat made?
so you know what I've been thinking about, and you and I have been talking about also with this case as well as the Cassie Joe Stoddart case, which we'll be talking about next, is how social media um, affects affects not, no, I mean everyone, but especially young
Mhm.
people,
Mhm.
um, because you know how you can go on social media, like you go on Twitter, you can be feeling just fine, and you go on, and within a few minutes of just scrolling your timeline, you just end up pissed.
Yeah.
You just end up fucking pissed, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so y- I imagine being a hormonal 16-year-old and seeing someone that you're friends with saying something,
Mhm.
broadcasting out subtweets where they're mad. They're clearly mad at you and they're calling you a fucking two-faced bitch.
Mhm.
Which I'm sorry, but Sheila and Rachel were two-faced bitches to Skylar, so I totally understand Skylar saying that. But in the old days, let's imagine like a 1985 Skylar would probably call them a two-faced bitch to like one of her classmates,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So then she's telling her friend, and then maybe a friend is telling another friend, and maybe it gets back to Sheila and Rachel, but they're hearing, Skylar says that you're a two-faced bitch. It's
Yeah.
different than when you're reading it online and you are aware that all of this information is available
In
to
perpetuity.
millions of forever, and to millions
Forever.
of people.
Forever.
And they don't understand that most people don't give a fuck what Skylar is saying.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, Skylar's mad." For them, they're like, "Skylar's talking shit about us."
Yes.
I don't think it helped. I think social media amplified the way they felt. I think
Yeah.
it added to this, like, the sense, this indignant kind of sense, and, I think it fueled their rage that much more because of what social media is to a 16-year-old, to a 16-year-old girl.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
So maybe not. Like, maybe, just maybe, there wouldn't have been this maybe the rage wouldn't have been stoked as high as it was. Maybe it would
Mhm.
have been a little more measured. Maybe it wouldn't have. But I will say this, unlike the Cassie Joe Stoddart thing, well, no, 'cause we're gonna talk a little bit about, like Folie Deux and
Yeah.
how that plays into this. So, a quick primer for our listeners that maybe are not familiar with what Folie Deux is. Um, so in psychology, it has to do with friends or lovers, like people that are tight knit to each other, committing extreme acts, right? Extreme acts like murder, for example. Folie à deux, translated, it means a madness of two. So, like, you think of examples, some famous examples are like Bonnie and Clyde,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Um, and another kind of case that falls into a little bit of our realm here would be Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold,
Yep.
the Columbine killers. And so in this case, usually the way it plays out is there's two people. There's one person that's sort of the mastermind or the engineer, the dominant person. And that person has sway over the other person who's maybe the more submissive in the duo. And so in this case, I would make the argument that it would have been Sheila would have been probably the mastermind. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but in their friendship, she was known as the controlling one.
Yeah.
Sheila was also the one that finished Skylar off and the one that shows no remorse. So,
I will say, though, one of the things about this case that just blows my mind, um, is that stabbings are so personal
deeply personal.
and it's so violent,
Yeah.
um, in a way that a gun or I mean, not that they would have access to that, or maybe they did, I don't know. But it's such a violent act, and there was no moment during the act that either of them were impacted enough to stop. And it's like, when do you stop seeing your friend or former friend as a human being? That was what really stuck out with me about this case. But I think what you're saying is there's an influence, and then there's power in the duo of not
Right.
wanting to disappoint the other. Um,
There's
but
also
that,
the we've come this far, we have to finish now
of
because
course,
if they
yes,
stop, then they're gonna
yeah,
get in trouble.
yeah,
And if you think about them getting in trouble being the sort of the motivating factor in killing her in the first place, they gotta finish her off. And they're also egging each other on, right?
hmm,
Like,
yep.
well, in this case, I imagine Sheila really kind of egging uh,
Rachel,
Rachel on. I'm not Rachel is where she needs to be. You
correct,
know what
yeah,
I'm saying? Sheila wasn't threatening her life, saying, "You better kill Skylar with me," or whatever. It
hmm,
was, um, it was very much a crime of passion. There was a lot of anger and a lot of hatred in what they did, and
mm, yeah.
and
Dehumanization.
yes, they depersonalization and dehumanization. I think she stopped
Yeah.
being. I think she, in some ways, I think about that. In fact, I'm going to find it. I had it down here. Skylar's last tweet. Because
Oh,
I'm trying to
yeah.
read it in the mind of like imagining
Mhm.
myself 16. Let me see here. Skylar Neese's last tweet. Dude, I'm telling you, last night I was just going through her Twitter
It's heartbreak
and
Is it still up?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and I cried. She's so sweet looking. Like, you see
Yeah.
her and then her parents are good people. Like, her
Um,
dad, I just wanted to give him a fucking hug. And like
yeah,
that was their only child and they were
yeah,
older. Like, they weren't
yes.
gonna oh,
This is not a
okay.
Mackenzie Shirilla, thing with the parents. Like,
No.
these parents deeply love their child, and just to
Yes.
imagine it was their only child is what's truly gutting.
I'm just gonna read through some of these ones
Mhm.
on the last couple days. You doing shit like this is why I will never completely trust you. Stress will be the death of me.
Oh, man.
Sick of being at fucking home. Thanks, friends. Love hanging out with you all too. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, that's
Like, listen to this one. I'm going off topic. Sometimes I worry I'll still be saying dude when I'm 50, which is way too old for it to be acceptable. She has no idea. I'm gonna be
dude,
50
it
before the
is so acceptable,
yeah.
Skylar.
Yeah, I'm
Dude.
sorry. I say dude and I say bro, but I'm also surrounded by my own 16 and 19-year-old. Um, oh my gosh.
Oh, that
She's
hurts.
so
That hurts.
she's so fucking cute. Um, Her last Facebook post, she had posted the things I know. I could blow
Oh,
this whole shit
blows.
up. That would probably scare the shit out of 2 girls that are just worried about their reputations.
Mhm. I was just gonna say, like, peer influence, all of those things, and the social media and how you're perceived and, the image you're trying to present, those are all things for teenagers that are so valuable.
Their whole worlds are it's their whole worlds are their peers, their
Mhm,
friends, what they're gonna be doing over the weekend and all of that. Um, but it is a situation where I do not think, I could be wrong, had Rachel and Sheila never met and become friends, the murder wouldn't have happened. They needed each other for that murder to happen. That's what I think. I think
mhm.
that's where the folie de plays into this is you get 2 people that separate from each other probably go through life perfectly normal, you know? If Rachel hadn't transferred to university, high school, Sheila and Skylar probably would have, stayed friends. Maybe they would have phased out, joined their separate peer groups. Maybe Sheila would have just been spending more time with her boyfriend. Maybe Skylar would have found a boyfriend and been busy with him, and you outgrow each other. They probably would have outgrown each other. Skylar had, she was in AP classes, straight A student. She wanted to be ironically, a criminal attorney. Um, and was making all the correct moves. She had loving parents. She was disciplined. Her room was clean.
Ugh, love her.
She had a she was one of those 16-year-old kids that was organized.
Yeah.
Um, she probably would have just moved on, you know?
Mhm.
And Sheila would have probably found a new best friend, you know?
Do you think that it's possible, though, that Sheila, being the instigator, that she might have found herself in another situation later? Not necessarily pairing with somebody, but it seems, and I don't know whether there's been a show of remorse now, and it doesn't always have to be public remorse. We don't know
Sure.
what she's doing privately.
That's fair,
But
yeah.
I do think, this person who showed no remorse, at least publicly, was lying and deceiving and sort of plotting. Sounds like somebody who might be capable. I don't know.
Well, that
It's just
yeah.
of something at another time and place. Perhaps most people who are, 16-year-olds are not committing murder, and I think it takes a very specific person to do that.
Yes. I will say it's interesting because there was no trial, because
Mm,
she pled out. um, like, records are sealed. We'll never know if she ever received, like, a formal diagnosis, a
mhm,
psychological
right.
diagnosis.
Yeah.
Because I would be so curious. I mean, she has the hallmarks of a psychopath. No remorse, or no remorse at trial. The fact that she could, when finally admitting to what she did, claimed, "We killed her because we didn't like her anymore," which feels like spitting also in the face of her parents, of
Yeah, I
Skylar's
mean,
parents, to say that to people that treated you like their other child.
yes. Yeah.
Um, it's bad enough that you killed your friend. It's bad enough that you're saying that about someone who never did anything to you, but you're saying that, and her family is there hearing you say that,
The only
understanding.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I will say though, and again, we don't know her diagnosis. We
Sure,
don't know, but
sure.
she definitely was that ringleader type. So it's entirely possible that she's simply doing this to save face and to seem like the tough girl. I,
Right,
again, I do think it's odd she hasn't shown remorse, but that doesn't mean that she doesn't have it.
right, right. Um, and also, discussing why so many criminologists and forensic psychologists have a problem with juveniles being sentenced to life without the possibility of parole is it
Mm.
it ignores the science of the brain of a juvenile, of a 16-year-old, and that very often the they are not the same people. Case in point, Rodney Matthews, who murdered Sean Willett. This was in Massachusetts. He was 14 years old. Beat this other 14-year-old kid to death with a baseball bat, just because, no reason, just to see what it was like. And I think he was sentenced to 30 to life, I believe. So he was 14, sentenced as an adult. He was released on parole. I think he's in his 30s or 40s at the point that he was released, maybe his late 30s. I can't remember. But not the same person. He was a model prisoner. He finished his education in prison. He took part in a lot of like anger management, like anti-violent stuff. He in prison showed extreme remorse. He also acted alone. He also had a very, very terrible home life, and
Mhm.
was that there were actually red flags leading up to the murder.
Hmm.
Not the same person. Uh, it's controversial because there was a criminologist that was arguing on his behalf, saying you cannot that there is no point in leaving a reformed man in prison for the rest of his life when he is not a danger to society. Um, Now Sean's mother feels differently,
I was
understandably.
just gonna say,
Sean's
but
mother,
yeah.
feels differently, and that's where, again, it's very controversial, and where I wonder, like, I wonder about Sheila. I don't really wonder as much about Rachel. I don't think that Rachel would ever reoffend. I really don't think that. I could be wrong, but
Yeah.
I don't know. But then
But I think
it's
we still have to look at the family, though. I mean, I do think I agree with you, and there are
yeah.
things, statistically that reoffending, if the person goes and gets educated and sees therapists and gets a vocational skill, and all of those things, the anger management, like that does set you up for success. But the problem is that that's giving that person another, sorry, chance at life. But of the victim's family, what does that do to them when they want that justice? They want to see that person for an eye or whatever. So it's a really tricky subject, I think, because by letting somebody out, you're in turn almost re-victimizing the victim's family if they're wanting that person to stay there. And so who's the priority? The victim's family or the offender?
That's that's a tough one.
Yeah.
That is a tough one, because every family is different. It's a tricky thing because justice is supposed to be blind,
Yeah.
and I know it's an imperfect science, and this is where it gets tough for me because I have I am of two minds, and Shannon can tell you this. I don't believe in the death penalty.
Oh,
I don't,
wow. Okay.
but but
Mm.
I do believe in fucking killing the motherfucker that hurts somebody you love. And I think that if you go out there and you fucking kill that person that did this, I think you should be let off the hook or do some
Mhm.
anger management, something like that. Like the every Father's Day somebody posts that
The
video or
the
that
shot of the
picture,
guy
the guy
of the
shooting the
the
dude.
phone booth?
Yes,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
dude that kidnapped and raped his son, and I'm like,
Yes. Yeah.
yes, yes, because there's something else I know. The recidivism rate of child molesters,
Yeah.
it's not good. It's Rapists, anybody that rapes, anybody that hurts kids, they will not stop, dude. Or it rarely it's a high rate of reoffending. I don't know that that dude was gonna do enough time in prison, and that dad did everybody a fucking favor, and probably did that pedophile a favor too, because
Yeah, he's
it's
stuck in
you
his
know
own world
yeah, he's
of
stuck in his own world of hurting kids, and a lot of them
yeah.
don't wanna do it. They can't control themselves, so, it's tricky. I this is I love having these conversations because I get it, I yeah, it's
But
really
do
hard.
you I know you're not, like, for the death penalty, but what about life in prison for a 16-year-old?
No. I
Okay.
I do I think that some 16-year-olds should spend their lives in prison? Yes, because of Paris Lee Bennett,
Yes,
who was
but
who was
somebody who was diagnosed as a sociopath
oh,
or
dude, he's scary.
but in the case of these, I mean, you think that
I
Rachel should be released?
I don't know. I don't know. She was denied parole. Maybe it's the case that she is denied parole until she's, like, 60 something years old.
Mhm.
I wanna make room for recognizing the fucked up just these crimes are so unbelievably horrible, awful,
Mm.
but also understanding what it is to be a fucked up 16-year-old kid,
Oh god.
and that it's there was nothing to indicate that this was anything that you were ramping up to do. Like, they didn't torture animals, they weren't physically harming other kids that we know of. There's no record of that, and all their
Mhm.
classmates and stuff were attesting to the fact that they were fun girls. All 3 of them were nice.
Yeah.
All 3 of them were fun and funny and wild and cool to party with and all of that. I guess what I would want, isn't necessarily for them to get out, but to have the opportunity to change and to show growth and to at least be considered each step of the way. And maybe at a certain point, maybe Rachel's
Parents are
35,
no
40,
longer Oh, I was gonna
and
say maybe when their parents are when, Skylar's parents are no longer
alive.
alive.
Or that Skylar's parents just show up at the parole hearing and say,
Yes.
"We're done. Like
Yeah.
like we're satisfied with what you have to say."
Mhm.
Um Because honestly, it's a lot of times, like, it weighs heavy with the families, and it should weigh heavily with the victims'
Yes.
families. In
Yes.
the case of Cassie Jo Stoddart, like, her mom is dead. Like, her mom's gone. Her
Yeah.
mom passed away.
Yeah.
Um, but it's really tricky. I think about sometimes, like, I was thinking about when I was a kid. I was 12.
Mhm.
I had had a really tough couple years leading up to when it was the summer before I turned 13, and I didn't have, like, really any friends, and I was dealing with a lot of stuff. I went to a private Catholic school where the kids were, like, not nice, and they were not nice because I didn't come, like, in that town, rich kids went to Catholic school, and,
Mhm.
I went there, but I didn't come from money, and so I wasn't wearing, like, Ralph Lauren polo shirts, which were, like, the thing at that time. I wasn't wearing, my mom didn't drop me off at school in, like, a nice car. They For some reason, my mom had, like, these, like, very radical feminist, like, bumper stickers on the car. I was so embarrassed, and it was a truck, and I was getting dropped off at school, and the girl, like, I was made fun of, I was mocked. They would ask me, like, "Oh, um" my uniform came from, like, the donation box, and they knew that and stuff, and
Oh.
so I went through a lot, and I was very, very frustrated, and at once wanting so badly to be accepted, but at the same time hating them all.
Mhm.
And that summer my grandparents weren't doing well, and so I spent that summer in, like, the kinda coastal town that they lived in, and I became friends with this girl. She was 14. She smoked cigarettes. I smoked the first time I smoked pot was with her. I would do whatever she wanted me to do because there was
Yeah.
someone that was befriending me, and I started to act out, and I think about myself then, and I wonder how far I would have gone for her, and I don't know. Like, I
Hmm.
don't know. That I'd like to believe that I would have a boundary and understand that that's a boundary you don't go through, but
Yeah.
I was full of hormones, and just wanting so badly to fit in, and so I I don't know. And I guess when I think about that and I don't have an answer, again, I'm not saying like, I totally would have stabbed somebody if she told me to. I don't know. Do you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? It's a
Of
thing
course.
where I went pretty far with her and, like, smoking pot and smoking cigarettes and sneaking out and stealing shit and vandalizing some shit and doing all this and feeling the adrenaline and the excitement of doing these things and not thinking I wasn't thinking about repercussions, and if she
But
hated somebody, I hated them too, like that kind of shit. It didn't end well, by the way. So, like, I was forbidden from seeing her, anymore. Thank God. Um, but,
But do
yeah.
you think that loyalty, because I was friends with a bad crowd in high school, but I was the goody goody, the good student. I didn't do drugs, but they all stole, did drugs, all that stuff. And I guess my question for you is, where is, like, would morality, do you believe, outweigh your loyalty? Because I do think violence, it's one thing to do drugs and steal and, act out. That's a very typical teen behavior. But when it's a situation of violence, there is a level of morality there that I think stops people. And I'm curious if you think like your loyalty or need to fit in. I know you don't have the answer, but I'm just curious,
I
you know,
didn't have a well, I think this is an influence too, and I think it's something that should be considered. Maybe in the case of both Sheila and Rachel is, I didn't have a stable upbringing. I had a
yeah.
really, I didn't have, um I come from a family that had addiction issues. I come from a background of sexual abuse. I
Mhm.
didn't grow up with a father, and I think that's important.
Yes.
Um, I my mother had had a really bad nervous breakdown 2 years leading up to when I ended up in that town where my grandparents were, 'cause my mom was, like, helping them out, and then she would leave and I would stay with them, and they were old, so it was easy for me to sneak out. Um, I didn't have a strong sense of morality at the time. I didn't. That came later. That came later. So I was looking for role models. I was looking to fit in. I was looking to belong. I was looking for validation. I wasn't getting it at home.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, what saved me was I mean, eventually it was school and teachers and coaches and stuff like that became my strong foundation. And I ended up in a very good friend group. And when they say like your friends are who you are,
Yes.
I was very lucky. I had really solid friends. I ended up in a good situation, but at the time, I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't have a good, I was mad at God because, at Catholic school I was getting picked on and no one
Mhm.
was helping me. I didn't have my mom wasn't really around. She wasn't very involved, and she was dealing with her own mental health issues. There was a lot. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's when I say I don't know. I didn't believe in anything then. There was, like, nothing to believe in except feeling like I was in this position with this one girl. It was such a fucking asshole, by the way, when I think back on like, I don't know. I wonder if she's still alive. Like, I don't know. But,
We'll have to Google her
it was
later.
oh, no.
Yes.
But I guess that's when I say, like, I think about that, and I think about if I had done something shitty that got me
Mhm,
thrown in prison then,
mhm.
is that who I is that who I ultimately am? Is that person? Or am I me now? You know, am I that
Yeah.
if I don't know. That kid needed stability, she
Mhm.
needed good role models, she needed structure, she needed to be told, "You're doing a good job," when I was doing a good job. That's what I needed. And there's I know that Sheila had some trauma with her dad, and I know that
Yeah.
Rachel had, borderline abusive parents
Oh
with regard
Oh.
to
Oh,
well,
good. Yeah.
her theater, like, what someone was saying, like, her mom was, like, screaming at her to get her shit together, like, I don't know if there was any physical abuse, but she certainly, she was afraid of her parents, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, so again, I'm not saying, like, therefore we need to let them off the hook, no. I'm just saying, is there the possibility of redemption? Is there the possibility of change? Probably, right? Likely, at least in the case of Rachel, who started to, like, become open about why she did what she did. Um, and I guess the question is, if there's the possibility to grow and change, is it possible that they should be allowed the opportunity to live in society if they are no longer a threat? And I guess that's the question. I don't have a firm answer. I guess
Mhm.
my firm answer at this point is I think that juveniles should have the opportunity to be considered for parole. Doesn't mean that they will be granted parole, but they should at least have the opportunity to be considered. I know that the Supreme Court declared that juveniles having mandatory life sentences without the possibility of parole, like, violated the Eighth Amendment. So there's 28 states now where I believe that juveniles cannot be given life sentences without the possibility of parole. But ultimately, like, places like Idaho, where Brian Draper and Tori Adamczyk are, where they were given life sentences without the possibility of parole, it's left it's discretionary. So it's not mandatory. It's discretionary. Um,
Mhm.
but they've already exhausted their appeals, so it would take
Yeah.
something pretty fucking big to change that. Um, what are your thoughts?
What on whether these people should be released?
Do you think, just in your opinion, and of course this is all speculative, just based on the information we have, do you think that they're dangerous? Do you think that there's the possibility for them to be rehabilitated? And if so, do you think that eventually, not saying even 5 years from now, but just eventually, they should be, granted parole?
Well, without knowing, so I'm just again, like you said, it's pure speculation. I
Yes.
don't have any, background
Right,
history of them beyond what we know of the case. And I
right,
will say that I am a strong advocate of the victim's family. However, I think women are more likely to, the recidivism rates among women is significantly lower because it's
right.
usually the act of a crime is usually committed based on a relationship and not random, like the Cassie case that we're going to talk about. Like, not that that was random, but it wasn't
It
predicated
wasn't
on
personal.
it wasn't personal.
Yeah,
Whereas these two girls, it was. I will say I do what's concerning about Rachel is that she hasn't publicly shown remorse.
right,
And I don't know if there is potentially another diagnosis there going on we don't know about, but that
right.
would be helpful in my conclusion as to whether.
Sure. Yeah.
But I for women in these kinds of crimes, I think it's something worth considering with parole. But I do think anytime we're granting somebody parole, there always needs to be a strong consideration of the victim's family, because at the end of the day, yes, we want to make sure society is safe. We, should do our best to allow people a second chance, but that shouldn't come at the expense of greater grief for the victim's family.
I guess I should have said, like,
Yeah,
because obviously as long as Skylar's parents are still alive, they should absolutely have a say, but, like, in the
correct.
event that they were no longer around.
In the event that they were no longer around, do I think that these women, oh, at least I'll just speak to Rachel. I don't think Rachel would be, without knowing her history, I don't think she would be a danger to society. Um, but again, I think I would need to see like a clinical diagnosis and to see how she's progressed in prison, what she's done, whether she's been active in the community. And the same with Sheila. I mean, I think they
Yeah.
both would need to go through some sort of psychiatric evaluation. But given that they are women, and they were teenagers before their brains had fully developed, I think it's something worth considering that they should be granted parole. I do not necessarily feel that way in any capacity with the killers of Cassie.
Okay, yeah,
That's where we're
that's
gonna differ on that one, I have a feeling.
well, that's a tough one, man. It's
Yeah.
I
And not to say one crime is worse than another in the sense of somebody still was murdered.
Right. Right. Well, here's the thing. I think this is probably what you're thinking. This is where I'm going with it. Skylar's case being so personal makes it
Mhm.
feel more like an isolated thing, whereas
Yeah.
with Cassie Joe Stoddart's killers, this was a thrill kill. And when you're killing for enjoyment versus killing because you're angry with
Yeah.
somebody,
Yeah.
it's terrifying. It's
Yes.
absolutely terrifying. So we've spent a long time talking about Skylar Neese and her killers, Sheila, Eddy, and Rachel Shoaf. Next episode, so this is there's going to be a part 2. Next episode, we are going to continue the conversation discussing juvenile murderers and sentencing and all kinds of stuff, and the controversy around juvenile offenders being sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. We're going to pick that up next episode. Um, but this was great. This was great discussing all of this with you, Jackie, and welcome.
Thank
Well,
you.
welcome to the Secret Passage podcast, as
Woo.
my co-host. All right, friends, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe. Give us a 5-star rating, please. Follow us on Patreon and follow us on Instagram. We are at Secret Passage Podcast. You can shoot us an email at, I believe it's
secretpassagepodcast@gmail.com.
gmail.com. That's right. If you have any suggestions for shows, episodes, any notes, if you want to send us a correction, because we don't always get it right every single time, let us know, and we will see you next time. Bye.